Hello and welcome to another video in my Death in Paradise review series. Today we will be taking a deep dive into Season 13, Episode 6. This was a very interesting episode. It was a key episode, of course, because we had Dwayne's arrival. We had, of course, had the announcement that the Inspector will be leaving, and not to mention all the actual plot of the episode. That's just what's adding on to that's just what's adding on to the real story, the continuing story. Right, now then, let's dive straight in. For starters, the family situation with the victim was lovely to watch. As always, this show has a great way of introducing us into the scene, and this was one of those very, very key moments. The Polaroids were lovely to see taken. It's not very often we see Polaroids anymore in the modern day, but I always think whenever we see them, it does just bring a nice feeling to the episode. The concierge finding the body was good and very different. It's not very often that we have that kind of a situation. I really enjoyed it. Darlene struggling without Marlon was lovely to see, especially when we consider the fact that Darlene was originally only working at a desk in this show. So it's a really nice character, and it's really nice to see her struggling on her own. The commissioners. What does I even say? The commissioner coming in at the start was very funny, because I can't read what it says, but it was very funny because he came in and he says something along the lines of, when he's listening into the gossip, that's what it says. Something about him listening in. Anyway, it was very funny and I really enjoyed it. The circumstances of the murder were very interesting, especially when we consider the fact that it happened within 15 seconds. It really does just add that question mark that we always have with any episode of Death in Paradise, that we just have to hold up. We just have to slowly remove it until we get that final dot to be removed. It's like a whiteboard in a way, and I quite like that. Having the alarm and the receiver was strange, but a good plot point, and something that at the start you always have to remember. Keep these things in your mind. When I was younger, I used to watch mystery shows like Murder, She Wrote, and I used to actually follow it along. Obviously now I do it for other reasons, but I still think following a murder mystery along, trying to figure it out yourself, is very, very good, because it saves your brain from getting idle, and that is very, very important. The one chip nail was interesting to see, and as always, one thing to consider before the episode. The daughter not having an alibi was interesting and very unusual. The idea of testing the climb through the hatch was different and very funny. It's something that doesn't happen very often, and it is very funny to watch. The Bible and the money was a great plot point, as I've written down here, because religion's something that affects the majority of people within the UK at least. I'm presuming it affects a lot of people around the world as well. So to have that, I always think, is a very good idea. Zoe and Neville's chat on the beach was nice, and I loved the offer of dinner, especially when we consider her reaction of, wow, you really have changed, because it does just show that a lot of people in the UK can really connect with that situation of the man not doing any cooking. So that I thought was very funny. The bucket list was also a very interesting situation to have. I really love the idea of this older woman having this bucket list that she's checking off in her final days, and I think it makes for a really nice plot point throughout the episode, and I think it would make for a nice episode or even a series overall for, like, not for a Death in Paradise, but for like another show. I think that'd be lovely, and I think it would make a lot of money as well. The only message coming from victim to husband. Yes, the only message going to the husband from the victim was very interesting, and a very different situation as well, but it does just add an extra layer to the situation. The daughter going for a run, then finding some space on the roof. Yes, the daughter going for her run, then saying, right, I need some space because I'd like to talk about things, then going to the roof. It was a lovely idea, as if she's going up to the roof just to get a bit of fresh air, a bit of like a... and getting that relaxed, and I love things like that, and I think it works. The confusion about the bucket list and cash was expected, but you could tell that the husband was putting it on. Or at least I could tell that the husband was putting it on. Dwayne's return was long expected, a great moment, and it just added to the episode. I mean, you look at Dwayne's history within the show and you just think it's a surprise that he's not come back sooner, really, for like more than one episode, because he's only really ever done one-offs before. So to see him come back for the permanent, the permanent officer was lovely. The mysterious woman was strange, who was later discovered to be the friend of the family. The stalking from Next Girlfriend was interesting, and as always, a very different plot point. I like having different plot points to engage and entertain, and I think that's lovely. Dwayne and Darlene's relationship throughout this whole episode has been very funny to watch. Collectively, with, well, me and my whole family have said that we think that the situation with Dwayne and Darlene from the past is something that they needed to explore, and here we are, finally exploring it, albeit a whole lot further down the line than I thought we would. The affair was very interesting to see, and I think the fact that it wasn't told was even better. Because, of course, it didn't come from the victim, it came from someone in the victim's family. And that's something that's very unseen in this show, at least. The mysterious woman caught by Dwayne and Darlene arguing was good and very funny. I mean, the whole argument situation was hilarious in itself, but to add on the fact that, you know, the situation was how they would probably manage to get away, really. Dwayne being pushed into the pool was a really, really, really well executed scene, but it was really a bit of a poor gag. It's not that funny, I don't think, and especially when we consider that this is not really a children's show, I don't think it was overly necessary. Dwayne's reaction to Neville's date was the best thing to come out of this episode, in my opinion. As always, since season 1, he has been bringing the comedy, and that brought the comedy to a whole other level. The kiss between Neville and X was very awkward, very unexpected, very different, and I loved it. The knowledge of the argument between the victim and the husband was very different, because we never really discovered that this late into the episode. Like, right now we're about halfway through the episode and only now discovering an argument. That's very different. The church was a lovely scene, and it's a great location to see again. It's one that we've not really seen since the days of some of the old inspectors. So it is really, really nice to see again. The anger at leaving the money to the church was interesting and very funny, because I go to church and I see people asking for money all the time, and it's really funny to think that someone's getting angry at the fact that someone's left all the money to church. So I think that's really funny. The tour guide trying to run again. It was a strange situation to watch. It, however, is not a strange situation in reality and was rather expected. The history of the tour guide was interesting, especially when we consider the fact that they went to prison, and the lack of knowledge about the child was lovely to see. In the UK, there are many, many people in this situation, so I think this was a great use of the broadcast location. Dwayne's dad falling ill and being about to die was really, really tough to hear, albeit I did presume he was on his way out long, long ago. Sorry. It's just, it's something we don't like to hear, really. The inspector trying to take something out of his eye was a great way into the conclusion of the episode. And that made everything a whole lot better for me. And now the idea of the murder taking place in another location was something that I already suspected, but the idea of it still happening in the lift, just happening 2 floors down, was even funnier. The idea of being in the idea of the husband being in on the plan to murder was perfect. I thought that was well executed. Not being told about the affair was interesting, especially with the deal in the motive. I thought that was good. The dad saying the daughter wasn't theirs was interesting to watch, but very painful as well. I really empathise with the situation. I think that is perfect to see. The use of the eye colour to confirm heritage was lovely to see and watch. I think we don't get to see anything like that again. I don't think we'll ever get to see anything in any programme like that ever again. And that was perfect. That was ingenious and very, very, very smart. And the inspector's chat with the daughter was very heartfelt. I mean, I barely know the daughter, in this episode. But the inspector's chat with her on the beach, considering that she stays on the island, was such a good idea. And the inspector telling Zoe she wasn't on his bucket list was perfect. Great way to link everything in the episode together. Darlene saying her way is the right way was very funny, and it just shows how the relationship between Dwayne and Darlene is only going to get better in the next episode. Neville here saying he's leaving St. Marie was surprising and unexpected. Well, that's basically what that means, but I presumed that he was going to stay a bit longer, but I had been thinking, like, he's been in this for like 5 years, maybe 6 years at this point. I think that's really surprising that he's only choosing to leave now. And finally, Florence's return is something we have to really look forward to now, because I am really looking forward to that. And that there is my review done. In the notes. Now, let's move on to the categorizing of the episode. The cast I've awarded a 9. Return of Dwayne. Return. And what more could you ask for? Costume design, 7. Links to other series, a 10. Dwayne. Characters, I've scored a 9+ because Dwayne. No other reason. The plot I have awarded an 8. I thought it was very strong and very interesting to watch. The murderer I have scored a 10 because I thought the situation was very different and interesting to watch. The rewatchability, I'm going to score it up there as a 9. However, I don't think any murder mystery can ever get a 10 on rewatchability for the same reason of you can't rewatch murder mystery. And finally, availability, I've scored at a 5 because I simply don't know the situation in other countries. So that there is where we leave today's review. What do you think will happen with Florence in the next episode? Please let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.